All right, so today I wanted to talk about a little piece by Grieg that I love to give students. It sounds a lot harder than it is once you understand a couple concepts. So I wanted to kind of go through those and make this piece way easier to play. So the piece is Opus 71, number 3, called Puck, or Little Troll. So here's my Dover version of complete lyric pieces. And toward the back here, Little Troll. So the first thing we want to look at is, what key is this in? There's a lot of flats, so that's kind of scary. But the trick with figuring out your flat keys is just always look the second flat back from the right. So we have a G flat there. So initially looking at that, I think, oh, this is a G flat major scale. It's in G flat. But like you start the song, it's minor. So you can see right there, well, maybe it's an E flat. So E flat minor has the same key signature as G flat major. We call them relative major minor scales. So to find your minor scale from the major, you just take the 6th degree of the scale. So what I mean by that is take G flat and go up 6 notes in the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you got E flat. All right, so you should be pretty comfortable. Even before you start this piece, I would make sure you can play your scale. The C flat. That'll make your reading of the piece way easier. Like the C flats especially are kind of tricky. You see a C, like here on the second line. It's a A flat minor chord, not. So anyway, if you understand the scale, that's going to make your life way easier. The next thing to think about is every little chunk, he kind of composes these in little like cells where he'll focus on one triad, and the whole piece is this way. So the beginning, it's all just one chord. Those 4 majors is just this one chord. So pretty much all you need is that chord. And then he's going to switch the right hand to a new triad. Yeah, so what's that? So I would do that through the whole piece. Ask yourself, what triad do I need to play this little section? So we got F major. It's an inversion, right? Flip it up. You got F major. Okay, and if we keep going, we can do this whole process. So right there, A flat minor, B flat major. And again, like I said, the whole piece. So to move through these, this is kind of a tricky section as there's lots of hands moving. I would really practice navigating these triads. So we got G flat, D flat, C flat major. I think of just B. So sometimes it's just easier to look at the keyboard, kind of memorize where you're going. You got G flat, D flat, B major back to G flat. So I would practice, so G. And if that's too much for you, just take hands alone, right? You go. So I would work up to be able to do that. And then, let's see here. Let's keep going. Yeah, okay, so this part here. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, this Dover edition I have has a mistake in it. But I'll put the right music up there. Yeah, so it should be C natural, because later on it's going to be C flat. Yeah, so you need to know the scale you're in. Sometimes you'll see a D natural. Yeah, so it depends on the edition you're using. This, I don't have a cheap. I have a cheap edition Dover here, but you could probably get something more fancy, or look at the music I post there, like a Muse score. probably has a more accurate version of this. Anyway, yeah, so know your scale. So like be able to go down the scale. That's just a scale. Like you should not, I mean, read the notes, but really like if you know the scale, it's just kind of like dropping it in place. You kind of get the idea. All right. This section here can be kind of tricky for students. Like really, I think that's probably the hardest thing in the piece. It happens twice. It happens once there and once at the very end in E flat instead of B flat. So first step with that, like just take right hand. You should be able to block it, so at least know where the notes are. Okay, and then maybe split it up. So do thumb. Getting used to transferring that, making that flip, because you've got to quickly get up to the next hand position. If you can do that, like you're well on your way. You can do that kind of thing. Okay, the other mistake I see with this is the rhythm gets out. They're not triplets, so it's not 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like it doesn't line up if you do that. So it's got to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and it lands on the downbeat. Or you could count in 4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So again, first step is just to be able to navigate those switches. The second step is make sure you get the rhythm right. You're not playing them in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You just need to make sure you land up on the downbeat, or you don't do something weird with the rhythm. Okay, we'll keep going. Okay, so this next section, like we'd call the B section of the piece, if you understand one type of chord, it'll make this so much easier. I know the notes look really scary. There's lots of double flats, and it looks all thick and scary. Like students freak out when they see this part. But it's really not that hard, trust me. So if you can understand what a diminished seventh chord is, that's all this is, and it's like the same diminished seventh chord throughout this whole section, so the next 3 lines or so. So if you can just understand that chord right there, if you can be comfortable playing that in inversion, what I mean by that is flipping it around. Or in one hand. I get comfortable doing that because that's all he's doing. That's all he's doing in this whole section is just playing that diminished seventh chord in inversion. He throws a couple little passing tones in there, but other than that, it's like it's the same chord over and over. Same thing. Flips up here. And then goes chromatically down, but it's the same chord. He goes chromatically down. The same chord, just in inversion. And again, it's the exact same chord again. It's just instead of down here, it's the same thing, just up another third. So instead of down here, it's up here. So again, if you see the pattern, we're just going in these diminished seventh chords. There's a G sharp. On the page, it's like a A flat, I guess. But I think when I see it, I think a G sharp, diminished seventh chord. And I'm going to keep flipping that up in inversion. And then I'm going to play this chromatic line down with my pinky finger. So if I take here. Same thing. Here. Same thing. And now he's going to shorten it. So instead of going that long, like 2 major idea, or 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm just going to do it in 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, up there. So you got to think we got these 8, 8, 8, then 4, 4, 4, 4, and then we land in the new key. C major. So that is like usually the scariest section of this whole piece. But if you understand that G sharp diminished 7th chord, and it's just going inversions with that top note coming down chromatically, then it's actually not that bad. And it's a lot easier once you memorize it. I don't think it takes too much effort, because as soon as you can get off the page, you're not trying to figure out what notes they are, but you can see the patterns on the keyboard. I think it makes it so much easier. All right, so the next section here is like just in C major. Just the same thing. So we can kind of just... Well, this is tricky here, which is new. Being able to leap around. So I don't really have any tips on that. Just get comfortable. Don't get stuck trying to do that. Just get out of the keys. Okay, so it just repeats. Now this part is tricky. This change from C major to what? That's your homework, I guess. I'll tell you what it is, but figure it out. So pause the video. Figure out what this is. What is that chord there? What are we going to? We went from plain old C major to tell you E major, right? So get comfortable going. Kind of like John Williams' Star Wars or something, right? Anyway, so C to E. So that's not exactly what's written. We actually got to go. So just take right hand, because this is kind of tricky. Know exactly where you're going. You're going from here to here. Like, get comfortable doing that, or you could block it, so play all the things there. So that's really where the problem is. The problem is getting from here to here without, like, missing a beat. Yeah, so let's keep going here. Okay, so this section, make sure you count. Like, it's not that hard. Just if you can play your chromatic scale, you gotta count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So I would strongly recommend to count out loud while you play. So even if you have to go slow, because it's like a lot for your brain to process, counting out loud and playing in rhythm and all the notes. Like, it's a lot to take in. So take it slowly, but if you count out loud, you'll see exactly where everything's supposed to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Especially when you get to this second half here, where you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Students always come in early there because they're not counting, they're not feeling that beat. So practice counting out loud until you're comfortable with it, because students always drop beats there. All right, so then we got the same until the end where he changes things. So let's take it here. So instead of going to G flat like at the beginning, he actually starts off in what I would think is like B major. And he does this so that in the end we can end up at E flat, which is the final resting place, the key that we're in, instead of B flat, the dominant. So we gotta practice this too, just like you did at the beginning, because it's gonna be different chords. And then again, your scale. And again, you're going to practice that just like you did before. So there you have it. Grieg, a nice little piece that sounds a lot harder than it actually is.